Okay, we are so excited to be here today to talk to everybody about our Junior Ambassador program. But like we always do here at EFM, we're going to give everybody another minute or two to get online because we know we have very busy families and sometimes making a strict 3 o'clock deadline doesn't happen. So if you can just stand by and watch with us, we'll be right back to go over the program and all of the things that we're super excited about. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Ryan just popped off. I'm assuming they have a family emergency, so I'm sure we'll see her here in a few. But I want to start by telling you about why we have our Junior Ambassador program. Our Junior Ambassador program was actually created because one of our staff members, little girl, Alyssa, would come to our meetings with us, and she had actually said to a congressional office one week that she had something to say during one of our legislative meetings. And when she told him her feelings about her dad being overseas in Korea and how lonely it was, and the things that can sometimes make military life really hard, the staffer was shocked and he was excited to talk to her. And I realized then that we created EFM so that we have a platform for our families to not only share their lived experiences, but when we have the opportunity, we want to share your stories and your voices, and we want to provide you opportunities to do that. But we weren't doing that for our children. And so we're hopeful that the Junior Ambassador program can be the equivalent of that for our kids that are enrolled in EFMP. And we had originally launched the Junior Ambassador program to be for our children birth through high school graduation. But some of us have older kids like Ryan and I who are like, well, what about us, right? Our voices still need to be heard. So we've actually decided to create 2 programs, right, Ryan?
Yes.
So we're going to do the Junior Ambassadors that we have been telling you about, but we're also going to do Young Adult Ambassadors. So if you've graduated from high school, but you still want to be involved in all of the work that we're doing, we invite them to join. And I think that some of you are going to be like, yeah, but what are Junior Ambassadors going to do? That's a really good question. And we aren't sure yet because we want them to have some input into what they want to work on. We know what the Junior Ambassador program's purpose is going to be, right? It's going to give our Junior Ambassadors the ability to share the things that affect them in military life. We are going to give them the opportunity to help influence what we work on for legislation. We are probably, maybe, hopefully, if we can trust them, going to allow them a social media takeover day where they create social media posts for us or about their lives that we get to share. Ryan, what else have we talked about letting them do?
We're going to do projects like sending holiday cards to the veterans that are, need a little pick-me-up. We're going to allow them to choose their positions and create their own little board, sort of like what we have. We want to encourage them to go out into their community and tell others about our program and maybe tell their story.
Yeah, and I mean, not all kids are ready to tell their story. Not all of our kids are able to tell their own stories. I know that a lot of you know our Melanie, and I feel like she's probably all over social media, but What we say is she is communicative, though she is nonverbal. And so we know how she feels, trust me. And I think that a lot of other families whose children are considered nonverbal understand what I mean when I say that I know exactly what my daughter's trying to tell me sometimes. And what we want to do with that population within EFM is allow them, along with their parent, to come up with ideas of like what could be meaningful for them as a junior ambassador. Maybe it's, I want to show you that today at therapy, I learned how to do this really cool thing that I've been working on for a really long time, and that my life is valuable, and that I am also contributing to society and the military in many different ways, even though people tend not to think about that for our disabled youth and our disabled adults. We do acknowledge that we have to be very careful with that. So we are going to rely on those parents to assist us with coming up with some ideas that really make sure that that population specifically remains independent in any way that they can while they're working in the Junior Ambassador program. We want to make sure that we're not infantilizing people. So everybody is who they are. And if your kiddo's 12, we're going to treat them like they're 12 because that's how old they are. And we're going to ask you guys, what do you think would work? What do you think is a good idea? I know that Melanie loves getting coins. And so we've tossed around the idea of a junior ambassador coin. And how cool would it be for your kiddo, even if they can't necessarily communicate, to be able to like hand a coin off to somebody? I feel like, at least in our military household, that would be like winning the biggest sports game of the year sort of thing. So we want things that are going to encourage them to participate in the ways they can. What I do want to say before we continue to talk about this is please drop the questions that you guys have for us about the program in the comments, because we did have quite a few people saying, I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if I really want to do that. Can you explain? Because saying junior ambassador seems like a lot of work, but we don't want this to be a second job for you either. So please, any questions you have, please drop them in the chat, because we want to answer them so that we get as many people participating that want to participate, and that as you are moving through your career, maybe junior ambassador is not for your family right now, but it will be in a year, that you know that you can circle back and you know exactly what we do at EFM with our junior ambassadors. Ryan, some of the ideas we've talked about for social media have been what?
So the one I'm most excited about is a day in the life. So we want our kiddos to be able to come on and just like anybody else and show people what they do. You know, if they did an art project, they want to come on and they want to show everybody, we want them to be able to. I know my kiddos are older, but I remember when my daughter was younger and she is physically and mentally handicapped, and she was we were visiting family and she was getting dressed. And I remember my grandmother going up and helping her, and she was like, no, I can do it just like you can. I just have to do it my way. And that's exactly what we want people to know. They can do anything.
So maybe that's a video. Let me show you how I do X, Y, and Z, because I got to tell you, when Melanie learned how to sit up, she did not learn how to sit up like everybody else. It involved like a V leg from a laid flat into the splits into something else. And we were like, what is that? But there she was sitting up and nobody expected it. So those are the kinds of things that we're really hoping to share. We did talk briefly about the board. So they're going to be an advisory board. They're going to get to tell us what they think that we should work on and the things that they think are important. And we cannot make a promise. I need to say this is not a promise, but we are working, trying to secure funding so that we can potentially bring some of our junior ambassadors and our young adult ambassadors to DC to meet with legislators after the legislative season is over, if we are able to use some of the things they tell us to create legislation. So even if it doesn't pass, we would love to bring them here. Again, we're working on funding. We know that it's going to be expensive. We know that we have needs that may make it so that not all of our kids can. And if that's the case, we can always do Zooms. We can come up with ideas so that they can fully participate. But the goal really is that our young adults and our junior ambassadors are given that seat at the table that we also desperately want and feel like we can't get in the EFMP world. And we want them to be involved too.
Yes.
So if I missed anything, Ryan, do you think there's something else we should cover?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it all. I mean, the biggest thing is we just want to give them a voice, and we want them to have fun with this. We want this to be something they look forward to and that they love doing. Um, and to gain their independence, to build
Yes.
that self-esteem up. So we are very excited about this program, and I hope to see everyone's kids join. And we will find a place for everybody.
And that's one thing we didn't talk about, but now I remembered. So I don't know if this is the case for everybody in the country, but here in the DC area, the majority of our high schools and some of our middle schools require community service hours in order to graduate. I struggled so hard with one of my children, and he was ready to graduate, and we're like, look, none of the available things can I send him to do on his own, or is it safe? Because he's at school at the one-on-one and he has, all of these different medical needs. And so what do I do for him for volunteer hours? This is the perfect opportunity for them to get those volunteer hours or community service hours they may need to graduate, or that they can get for an award or something like that when it comes time to graduation. Even our friends that are on a life skills path that are maybe not going to get a full high school diploma, we would love for them to be able to be on stage and get their award for having so many community service hours, because that really shows, just what they're capable of. And so that is something that we do want you to keep track of. All of these community service hours are obviously going to happen in your homes under your guidance so that your kiddo is safe and well taken care of, but it can help with some of the stress of how to get that so that you can graduate. So that is another fun thing that I know we talked about. How do we make this meaningful for them?
Yes.
And being able to have that for graduation, I think, can be really helpful.
Yes. The other thing we didn't talk about is how to apply.
That's right.
There is a link on our website with the application. And we just dropped it on is that the comments?
Yeah, no, we have a banner. We have a ticker going across the bottom. This is a bit.ly link, right? This is a bit.ly link that'll take you straight to the Google form. If you don't want to go on the website, for some reason, some of you are like, I don't know, the website's a lot. So if you're overwhelmed by the website because there's so much information on it, go to this link. We've advertised it on social media.
Yes.
If you have a question, reach out to us via the inbox or reach out to Ryan and I individually. We'll answer any of the questions you have. This is really about our kids being able to participate in the way they can. So the application should not stress you out. If you look at the application and you're like, I don't know. Well, then you know what? Just reach out to us because we're going to help you through it. Yes. We got this. If you don't know what to answer, just answer something because we're going to talk about all of this once we have that first group together. Ryan, when do you plan on doing the first meeting?
I would like to do it
in the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's in the next few weeks. Yes.
Okay, so we have pushed the application deadline by a couple of days, probably another week from now, we'll close it. We want to give people time to look at this and move on. But at the same time, we're already working on that first meeting. So the sooner you can get in to the application and apply, the better, because then we can communicate with you beforehand to see, what times are going to work, what makes sense for your kiddo as far as how we're grouping everybody. So go apply. Our website explains more in depth what the Junior Ambassador Program is. Share this with your community. Please share this with your friends whose kiddos need community service hours, or maybe they just feel lost. Our kids get new diagnoses, and I feel like the only people they think they can talk to are us. Mm-hmm. How great is it that we can give them that same community we get in peer-to-peer support groups and say, like, here's another kiddo just like you. We've talked about we have adult ambassadors potentially mentoring some of our junior ambassadors. If they're working on similar projects. Another thing that we didn't talk about, Ryan, but I do want to talk about is there are spouses clubs across the country.
Yes.
We apply for grants at any of the spouses clubs that we have people local to. And what we would love to do is give our junior ambassadors an official duty to be able to go pick up those grant checks. It's a lot of fun. My little girl got to do it this year. There were lots of poses that were happening. Unfortunately, none of them were appropriate for social media. But she had the time of her life. We got a grant from the Fort Myer Thrift Shop. We got a grant this last year from Fort Belvoir Spouses Club and from Hurlburt Spouses Club. So we would love to add additional grant applications out there, and we would love for our junior ambassadors and our young adult ambassadors across the country, across the world, to be able to be the ones in their community who go and get to pick up those checks. Because I don't know, how cool is it when you pick up a check and you're like, I'm holding this much money in my hand. It's probably the most money they've ever held in their hand their whole lives. and they get to take pictures, and we can share them if they want to share them. And if they don't want to share them, we don't have to, but it can be an official duty that we would love for them to do. And as we all know, those applications are going to start. So the more families that join, the more opportunities we have for our kids to be representing EFM in their local communities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it looks like we probably hit everybody right at school time because we have no comments and we knew there were a lot of questions. So we will keep an eye on these posts across our social media platforms. We encourage you to drop questions there if you have them and they haven't been answered. You can also reach out to Ryan, myself, or the EFM page on LinkedIn, Facebook, or I think we have it. I'm like, where are we streaming to? Or YouTube. And we will get back with you as soon as we can. We hope you guys have a really great rest of your week. And we look forward to seeing all the applications for our junior ambassadors. Have a good day.
Bye, guys.